Elder Scrolls 6 should be cancelled. There, I said it. And you know I am right. You know what I say is true. Bethesda's incompetent. Todd Howard is absolutely insane at this point. Emil Pagliarino somehow still has a job despite everything that he has done. And the most competent person leading Microsoft at this point is probably the janitor. There is absolutely no hope that we receive anything even worth downloading for free if it takes more than 5 seconds at this point from Bethesda. There is absolutely no world where it happens. Every day, Bethesda is losing fans in the thousands. Every single second day, there's some kind of new article coming out about how Bethesda's inner work structure is completely garbage, counterproductive, and dead and bad in so many other ways. It's uncountable at this point. And well, today is a day that ends with a why so. You know it happened again. You know someone again at Bethesda said that Bethesda is incompetent. Toxic work positivity, bad this, poor leadership. Todd Howard somehow micromanages everything too much. Todd Howard somehow doesn't micromanage anything at all, which still doesn't make sense how these two stories come from credible people at the same time. But here we are anyway. And I think that perfectly encapsulates how absolutely dead in the water Bethesda honestly is at this point. What do you want, honestly? Do you want Elder Scrolls 6 to come out in fucking 5 years or however long it's gonna take them to make it? Because it's gonna take a while at this point, okay? Or do you want to wait 7 years and maybe get a good game because Bethesda's not allowed to make Elder Scrolls 6? I prefer the latter. I in fact prefer anything rather than Bethesda making it, except Obsidian. That train has passed. We saw what Obsidian did with The Outer Worlds. The Outer Worlds 1 was disappointing. Then came The Avowed, an absolute bait and switch in the most purest definition. The thing that we got and the trailer that we received at the start, night and day. Night and day. And Avowed was garbage, by the way. And then we got The Outer Worlds too. Hey, did you like Avowed? No, you didn't. No one did. Well, here's Avowed, but guns. No one was happy. No one was obviously happy about it. Avowed's horrible and Outer Worlds 2 is completely dead. Fallout New Vegas, the greatest game ever, was lightning in a bottle, and you know it. 76 is a shit show, and everything Bethesda touches somehow also turns to the exact same material. And again, it's just getting worse. At this point, I don't think there are any people who think at this point that Elder Scrolls 6 is going to be even remotely successful. Everyone's expecting the worst outcome. Everyone's expecting the most low-quality garbage game ever. No story, no nothing. Best case scenario, we're getting a 5 times worse Skyrim. Which would be amazing by modern Bethesda standards, honestly. A 5 times worse Skyrim honestly sounds good at this point. I'm not even joking. That sounds good, okay? That really sounds good in comparison to what we honestly expect to happen. Pete Hines left Bethesda because it was getting damaged, mistreated, abused. No one cares, Pete. Everything's better with the flute.
What's up, space pirates? This is your admiral, the graciously grating Dr. Disaster. And one of the benefits of these big video game studios constantly developing products that are unwanted or just plain bad is that it leads to some legendary moments.
Wait a minute, this gun actually doesn't look autistic. The hell is this? Is this actual Starfield or is this a mod?
Moments like this one when Blizzard announced that Diablo mobile game years ago.
Hey, just was wondering, is this an out-of-season April Fool's joke?
Joke's on him because Diablo Immortal currently is unironically the best Diablo game. And that has been, by the way, the situation for like 2 years. I'm not kidding, by the way. Diablo Immortal is getting better content, better patches, better everything than Diablo 4. And no, again, I'm not joking. Diablo Immortal is getting so much better content, events, updates, and everything than Diablo 4. It's insane. It non-ironically is the better Diablo game at this point for a long time. Yeah, good one.
On the other hand, one of the downsides of these studios churning out sludge is that, well, we're stuck with fricking sludge instead of the games that people actually want. And when it comes to Bethesda, the subject of this video, they've had a few games that have ended up being pure sludge in recent years. Several years ago, Fallout 76 was released as a buggy and generally unplayable mess.
Fallout 76 at least was fun. I was there day one. Unk me, baby. The experience of Fallout 76 was magical on how broken and bad it was. People who did not play it back then, day one or day two, or I mean week fucking 5 even, did not experience the absolute quality. Fallout 76, unironically, is probably the most broken game release out of any AAA game ever. You could not play that thing a minute without encountering a game-breaking bug or something that completely takes you out of the game. Encounter an enemy, it's T-posing invulnerable or something. Encounter another enemy, oh look, the dog's turned into a giraffe. I doubt that's not intended. Oh look, another pack of dog giraffe. That's definitely not intended. Oh, a power armor? Well, let me make you into a gremlin. There have been so many unbelievable things with Fallout 76. It is insane. There are literally 5-hour long videos documenting the experience of Fallout 76. Starting from the bugs, ending with how FPS was tied to movement speed, and you can look at the bottom and nothing happened. Dude, I literally did the stealth quest in the stealth manor place, and I could crouch in front of a scorch beast right in front of them, and they would never see me. It was an experience, okay?
And while I've heard that the game eventually did become fairly playable, it was still considered a massive flop, or...
No. Fallout 76 has never been even close to playable. This is the thing that I have noticed happens with a lot of games. A lot of shit tier, poor, garbage, dumpster fire games. Fallout 76, Avowed, The Outer Worlds, Dragon Age, The Veil God, Mass Effect Andromeda. Anything that was absolute piss poor garbage when it released and for its whole life, has these people who are like, oh no, this game is actually really good when you don't listen to the masses, that randomly for no reason just decided en masse that this game is going to be a failure. Oh, they're all wrong. No, this is just undeserved hatred for some reason. No, the game's bad. You're just an NPC, honestly, at this point, considering you're defending it.
Take a look at Starfield. People have been clamoring for the next proper Elder Scrolls installment, a proper follow-up to Skyrim, for a decade and a half now. But instead, Bethesda put their efforts into this new IP that comparatively few people care about. I will say this though, at least the release of this game did result in another legendary gaming moment.
Sorry, did you want to get immersed in our world? Yeah, well, guess what? Fucking pro now!
That being said, Starfield didn't have the
still relative to this day, by the way, as
worst launch ever or anything. I've heard estimates that it sold somewhere between 3 and 7 million copies, considering that it had an estimated budget, once you factor in marketing, of around $300 to $400 million, well, if the actual copies sold of Starfield was at the higher end of that spectrum, then when you combine that with people playing it on Game Pass, then Bethesda probably made at least some level of a profit, but those numbers pale in comparison to what they made with Skyrim, which to date has sold an
Yes, and the worst part is, I mean, technically, Starfield had what, 20, 30 million well, not copies, but players. That was the big thing. 20 or 30 million players, not really payers. So we never actually got a real estimation of how much copies Starfield sold. But it was probably a lot. My estimation would probably be 7 million copies sold, because everyone plays primarily on Steam, because every Bethesda fan knows that that's where the mods are, so you have to play it on PC. If you're playing a Bethesda game on console, you're objectively just trying to sabotage yourself.
estimated 60 million units, making it one of the top 10 best-selling games of all time, and yet the clowns at Bethesda insist on doing anything but a sequel, which really begs the question,
what the hell are you doing?
with all that in mind, though, it is not surprising that Pete Hines, one of the former faces of Bethesda who left the company a few years ago, not long after Microsoft bought them, but anyhow, Hines just did an interview where he absolutely roasted Bethesda as being damaged goods, and to top it off, an interview just surfaced of a former artist for the studio telling us that the vast majority of the launch issues that Bethesda is infamous for having in their games, well, a vast majority of them are known quantities, but Bethesda just doesn't give a shit. With all of this in mind, it is pretty hard to have any real enthusiasm at all for Elder Scrolls 6 whenever they decide to actually.
By the way, I still remember the time like 2 years ago or something like that, and I was happy that Microsoft bought Bethesda, because there's a chance that that would have at least did some good, because, I mean, you can't go worse. Now, granted, I was right. It's not like Bethesda has become worse under Microsoft, but I mean, nothing has changed. There's still garbage.
Get around and release the damn thing. As a mega fan of Elder Scrolls as a concept, Elder Scrolls 6 was at one point quite easily my most anticipated game, but these days, my attitude is essentially
IDGARA. I don't give a rat's ass.
Yep, that is the attitude of most people, by the way.
Alright, me hearties, last year, these images here surfaced from Bethesda showing us.
Oh, what the hell is this, bud? Well, don't mind me. That's our thumbnail, boys. Well, one of these beautiful creatures of the night. Probably two. No, I can't say that.
Some of the high-ranking.
By the way, like the video right now. It takes less than a second. It's very easy and it helps a lot. It truly does. I greatly appreciate it, and it's a nice thing to do. It does make my day a little bit better. Thank you. Thank you, everyone who liked the video.
Developers who are working on Elder Scrolls 6, which makes it pretty hard to get particularly excited about the game's prospects. When you combine that with that post that the studio released last fall, right after the murder of Charlie Kirk, well, it's pretty safe to say that the people who work at the studio would clearly hate someone like me.
Oh yeah, that was this thing. I actually forgot about it.
And would most likely wish for a similar fate to happen to me and to everyone who thinks even remotely like me. As you can see in this post on X, right after Kirk died, they wrote, "Good kitty," and then they posted.
Well, to be absolutely fair, this is probably more sympathy than his wife had. She moved on very, very quickly, you know? I'm not gonna lie. Oh man, she removed that ring and threw out all of those pictures real fast. Strange, very strange.
Posted this clip from their game, Indiana Jones, and
Also, I mean, the room getting washed exactly the same day, also kind of strange. A lot of things are very strange.
The Great Circle.
Nice place. You don't care much about these fascists, do you?
Right back at you, bitch.
With all of that context in mind, let's look at what these former employees of the company are saying about Bethesda. We will start with this former artist at the company. This article here is from PC Gamer, which I will link in the description if you want to read it yourself, but the article really gives us a glimpse into the mindset of a studio that sounds extremely corporate and like they simply do not give a shit about player experience. It says here, Bethesda games certainly aren't lacking in launch issues. The presence of charming bugs and funny physics glitches are sort of the
I mean, the bugs aren't charming at this point. For example, Skyrim wasn't bug free on release. It had quite some interesting bugs, to say the least. But those bugs were slightly in between. And it's not like you were experiencing them constantly, and a lot of them were funny. It was things that didn't break the game. It was things that didn't ruin your immersion. It was things that happened and you're like, oh, lol. That's what it was. But, I mean, Starfield, Fallout 76, no, those are just really, really bad bugs.
studio's maker's mark at this point, although with the lukewarm reception of Starfield, that reputation's also begun to tip over into
Saying Starfield had a lukewarm reception is not really accurate. It had a horrible reception. Starfield is the reason people hate Bethesda now. Starfield legitimately, and this is no exaggeration, killed Bethesda. After Starfield, I mean, if you ask someone who doesn't like Bethesda why they hate Bethesda and are not looking forward to Elder Scrolls 6 or Fallout 5, Starfield. That's typically the answer. It was that bad.
subpar features too. That's not to say the devs aren't aware of the state these games launch in, though. In an interview with Dennis, I'm probably gonna butcher.
Also, this is, I think, a very good example why Bethesda is even more dead than you can imagine. You think this is bad? You think that this is bad? That there's some dude at Bethesda saying, oh, we know that the game's bad because it's launching with all these bugs. We told Todd, but he didn't care. Smacks lips. No. There's an understatement here that a lot of you are missing, probably. Now, granted, some of you are not, because you know what to expect, but some of you don't know with these things. And the undertone under this is, oh, Bethesda's bad because of the bugs. Yeah, Starfield was bad because of the bugs. Not because the gameplay was fucking shit. Not because the story was atrocious. No. It's just the bugs. It's just the fact that the color red wasn't red enough somewhere. That's what they think. These people do not fundamentally see a problem with the story or the game design that's literally non-existent. About the level up skill tree that didn't have things. You go into the combat tree, and there's only 2 things that are actually associated with the combat you want, and the rest are in fucking science? What are we even talking about here? How does this make sense? There's like seriously, this is the rough approximation of the by the way, of the skill tree in Bethesda. And that's just one of many issues, okay? So, you want to make a build that does X, okay? That means that you want these types of skills, like, I don't know, explosions, for example. Well, there's one explosion skill right here in combat, which makes sense. Okay? You get it. And then, we're ignoring everything in between, but there's like 2 tiers down another skill that works with explosions. By the way, there's no skill that works with explosions, but that's just an example. And now you need to get to it, but there's nothing else that synergizes your build. Like, the rest of the points in combat are for some reason tied to eating protein bars and having an increased weight limit on? Why? Why is this in combat? And then the rest of the skills that you want are in speaking? What? And that's the experience with every build that you want to make in Starfield. You have to pick completely nonsensical stuff that doesn't even help you. And that's just one of the problems with Starfield on a very, very simple basis. And these people don't think that's a problem. They think the bugs are the issue.
His last name, but Magillones from last year that's currently making the rounds, the retired artist who worked on Skyrim, Fallout, and Starfield explains, I have a ton of valid criticism of myself for Skyrim, Fallout 76, Starfield. I have my own strong criticism, we all do. I can almost guarantee you that like 95% of the stuff that players have brought up after a game was launched, every single developer just about has brought them up as a concern in the meetings, so that helps set the stage for what Pete Hines had to say about the company. This article here from Insider Gaming, which I will also...
Also, a small thing to note here, by the way, is... Okay, so Todd Howard's response to this is allegedly, we can't do everything? Well, you don't need to do everything. You just need to obviously not fuck it up to begin with. Then you don't need to fix anything. Like, everyone knows, every normal person can see that these things you're implementing are failures. So, why do you implement them in the first place?
Link in the description. It says at the bottom there, in October 2023, Pete Hines stepped away from Bethesda Game Studios after almost a quarter of a century at the company. In a lengthy statement, the industry veteran explained it wasn't a decision he made quickly, and he felt that, with Starfield having just launched, the time was right to depart and move on to whatever would come next. And then, here the article tells us, in an interview on the new Fireside Chat series, Pete Hines went in about his time at Bethesda Game Studios, revealing intimate and pent-up thoughts about why he left the company. He suggested he didn't exactly want to leave, as it was extremely difficult walking away from the team, but what the company had become under Microsoft simply didn't interest him anymore. I was staying there because this place still needs me. I just hit a point of yes, it needs me, and I am powerless to do what I think needs to be done to run this place properly, to protect these people, to maintain what we worked so hard to create, which is an incredibly efficient, well-run video game developer and publisher. When I was unable to do what I thought my job should involve in continuing to have that place be, you know, if not the most efficient publisher in the game industry, it was way the F up there. And when I couldn't protect it, and I saw how it was getting damaged and broken apart, and frankly, mistreated, abused, whatever word you want to use, I said I am not going to sit here and watch this happen right in front of me. He then explained that Todd Howard, his friend and colleague for more than 20 years, was the only one who knew he was leaving the company for such a long time. He stressed that, with each new Starfield delay, his departure was pushed back several months, and that weighed heavily on his mental health. I think I've done everything I can do. This is not when I wanted it to end, or how I wanted it to end, but that's not really up to me, and at a
Yeah, Todd Howard's probably, by the way, miserable. That would be my guess.
certain point, truthfully, my mental health was so deplorable that I just said I cannot. Under Microsoft, Pete Hines said,
For more inside gaming coverage, check out the news that the Metro game could be revealed soon. That's actually the video next after this, if you're wondering. There's a lot of interesting things about Metro 4.
that Bethesda Game Studios is not authentic and is not genuine, following that up with a bold statement, and that shouldn't be a surprise to you. And no, that is not a surprise to me at all. A big corporate entity like Microsoft seems incompatible with wanting to simply make simple, fun games. Studios under such an umbrella are almost certain to get inundated with corporate think, which is why the studio basically does everything wrong from a gamer standpoint these days. Though, to be fair to Microsoft, I don't think that they were the impetus for Bethesda's current state. They may have accelerated it, but this studio, at least from the...
Nah, Bethesda was dead a long, long time ago.
perspective of this outsider has been callous toward its fans for a long time, they are far removed from the same studio that gave us such classics as Morrowind and Skyrim and Fallout 3, but they will ride on the coattails of those games for as long as they freaking can. Anyways, make sure to hit the like button on this video and subscribe.
True, based, and real. Anyway, that was Dr. Disaster. 10 out of 10. Bye.